nota de 100. Muita nota de 100. Muita nota de 100. Muita nota de 100.
How's it going, everybody? I'm OT Bruno, and this right here is the Pocket FM podcast. So, as you guys know, there's a number of stories, but I'm be covering my personal favorite ones. That's going to be God's Eye and also Insta Millionaire. And honestly, based off of y'all opinion, we may cover one or two more. So let's just see. Don't be afraid to, give me your opinion on something that you might want me to cover. I might consider it, So first thing first, let's talk about my absolute all-time favorite, which is God's Eye, right? Look, I can tell y'all this much. There is 700 plus episodes out right now by the time of this recording. I want to take it from the top. So that's what I'm going to do, okay? So we're not going to get deep in the weeds with it. I just want to cover the basics. I want to let it play. I'll just react to based off of how it is, but we're going to make it all the way to episode 3 at least in this podcast that we're doing right now, right? So expect these all the time, all right? So no further ado, let's get it started.
God Eye, Episode 1, Young Bobby Brown. Morning, just as the sky lit up, while the whole of San Francisco was still hidden in the darkness before dawn. Whoosh. A young man reacted on instinct, throwing off his warm and comfortable covers, jumping up from his bed, and putting his clothes on. All of this was done in less than one breath. At this time, most of the other students were still sleeping.
Wait a minute.
The young man was...
Did you hear what that dude just said? This dude literally woke up, put his clothes on in less than one breath. This dude probably made his bed, brushed his teeth and everything in less than one breath. This is how you know this is going to be a good story, man. Because this is him whenever he's weak. You know what I mean? If he can do this kind of stuff whenever he's weak, man, y'all just watch the story.
13 and 14 years old, with a slim body and a childish face. He wasn't super handsome, but still good looking. His eyes were especially clear and full of fighting spirit. Just a bit longer, and I will be eligible to finally get my orange belt. Then I'll have all these other idiots shut up. The young man says, still sounding a little sleepy. This young man's name was Bobby Brown. Half a year ago, he came from the recruitment center in Beaumont to the San Francisco City Training Facility, based on his superb performance. The city's training facility was very reputed, as the fighters that reached the top there were said to have mystic abilities of controlling things such as their chi.
Alright, y'all. So look, for the ones in the back that don't know what chi is, I mean, if you guys ever watch like Naruto, it's basically like chakra, or like if you watch Dragon Ball Z, it's kind of like ki. Well, it's exactly what ki is. In fact, let me just look it up.
Hey Siri, what's the definition of chi?
Chi is a spiritual energy that helps us to become physically stronger, mentally focused, energized and revitalized, as well as the physical effects. Cultivating your chi will help to keep you to improve your health and well-being.
Wow. Alright, so yeah, that's what chi is in the first place. So, I mean, you can tell this is going to be a lit story if this shit is even involved with in the first place. Let's get back to it.
Helping them on their path to becoming immortal beings. Back at Belmont, he was a genius for his age, and was the first to receive a yellow belt at his age. From then on, he left the life of mortals, and stepped into the gateway of becoming one of the greatest fighters to have ever lived. At that time, every old person in the city praised him for his talent, saying his future could not be measured. His family, friends, and other relatives all had big hopes for him. However, only Bobby knew how much more effort he put in than his peers, allowing him to become the genius of Belmont's recruiting center. With the goal of becoming one of the greatest fighters to have ever lived, he knew that one of the only ways to get there was by learning to control his chi at the main training facility at San Francisco. Chi was the latent life force that exists in everyone and everything. By learning to harness this latent energy, a person could gain superhuman capabilities and use them in extreme forms of combat. The control of one's chi would allow them to have extraordinary abilities like super strength, speed, stamina, elemental control, hyper-awareness, and at times, even in vulnerability. The Belmont Recruitment Center was one of the main martial arts organization's side branches. Every 5 years, there would be 2 people recommended to the main facility. The person who came with Bobby was Jessica Park, a girl who had received her yellow belt from the recruitment center only 2 months after him. After leaving Belmont, Bobby was full of fighting will, determined to go to the main facility and show off his skills. However, it was only after he had reached there that he realized that he was just a frog at the bottom of a well. In terms of population, the recruitment center at Belmont only had 100 people, with just 7 or 8 around his own age. At the main facility, there were tens of thousands of people, with the rich people who controlled large amounts of land and had huge resources. Compared to the competition in Belmont, the competition here was 100 times more. Back at the recruitment center, it was considered a talent, even a genius by some. Here at the main facility, he was merely considered to be one of the lowest level of fighters for his age, a lowly amateur student. Throughout the history of his family, wanting students to have his place here at the main facility intact. With every passing year, there were students that were called up, and there were those who could not make the cut and were sent back to the towns they came from. He made an oath he would take a spot right amongst the best there at the main facility, and he had decided that he would never come to the point of being sent back home. After washing up, Bobby Brown took a deep breath and then ran towards the facility's training ground. "Ha-ha!" he exclaimed, as he practiced the technique of the flaming metal fist, a secret family fighting technique. Washing up, Bobby Brown took a deep breath and then ran towards the facility's training ground. "Ha-ha!" he exclaimed, as he practiced the technique of the flaming metal fist, a secret family fighting technique. Flaming metal fist was only a core martial art, but Bobby practiced it carefully, polishing it beautifully. In layman's terms, normal martial arts were divided into 5 categories: core, low, middle, high, and peak. Normally, the higher rank of a martial art, the higher the damage dealt by it would be, and the better it would be for increasing the strength of the user, helping him or her in the process of cultivation. Core martial arts, the lowest of martial arts, were used to strengthen one's body and blood, and the damage dealt by them was very low. However, with Bobby having no exceptional talent, it was very hard for him to learn martial arts of a higher rank. "I have been on the rank of the yellow belt for a long time. I need to practice a lot before I am worthy of the orange belt," he thinks to himself as he pushes himself harder. After practicing for a while, Bobby's face was drowned under a screen of sweat, and he was breathing heavily. He was not a bad fighter. He was just slower than the others. The reason why he couldn't catch up to the others was because he didn't have martial skills of the higher ranks. He also wasn't rich, like the other students who could buy precious pills to help increase their strength. There were a few families who would give their children precious strength pills right from their birth. These students would have enough strength to break through the first 3 belts by the time they were just 10 years old, gaining an unfair advantage over the others. At the starting line of life, Bobby Brown was already far behind them. Half an hour later, the sun slowly rose into view. On the training ground, some of the students grudgingly dragged themselves, while some others laughed and joked with their peers. However, when their gazes landed on Bobby, their eyes suddenly became cold, and some even showed disdain. This attitude wasn't pointed at Bobby alone. These students looked down upon anyone who came from the other lower facilities, like the recruitment centers from the nearby towns. In front of these students, they felt a certain amount of pride and entitlement. While Bobby was lost in his thoughts, a voice came whistling from the back. "Little broomstick, stop right there." A hand as strong as metal hit him hard on the shoulder. "You," Bobby said, looking at the person behind him as he was caught off guard. Almost falling to the ground, he stabilizes himself and stands straight. Luckily, his core skills were good, and he steadied himself in time. The hit came from another student, dressed in black. His body was fit and muscular, and he had thick eyebrows. His eyes had a tinge of playfulness inside of them, as he looked down at Bobby Brown, who had just regained his balance. "Tom, why would you do that?" Bobby said, with a face full of anger, wanting to hit him. When Bobby first came to the city, the two of them had a little conflict. This was because Tom was mocking those who came from the poorer towns, and Bobby was not happy with this and spoke out against him, calling him an entitled bully. Tom was a person who took revenge at every possible opportunity, and from then on, whenever he found Bobby alone, he would humiliate him every time while his friends backed him up. "Tommy, with your strength, if you cannot take this weakling in 10 moves, it'd be a shame." 10 moves? Tom is already at the peak of the list of students going to get their green belt. To fight this weasel, I think 3 moves will be enough. 3 moves? If they fight straight on, it will not be that easy. Tom's friends all started talking amongst themselves, ready to watch the show. Most of them did not care about what happened, so they spoke without restraint. 3 moves. Tom raised his head and laughed with a look of disdain on his face. "You are all embarrassing me. To beat this kid, I will only need 1 move."
Bro, I don't know who this dude think he is, but come on, 1 move? I mean, let's just look at this for 5 seconds. Like, this is a martial arts academy. The dude wouldn't be there if he was garbage. If I understand he's not the strongest character yet, but he wouldn't be there if he was garbage. Like, you about to sit right there and just like tell everybody that it's gonna take 1 move to basically beat this dude ass. Come on, bro. At least respect your opponent. Whatever martial art you do, ask around. You gotta respect your opponent, man. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
"Only 1 move?" Someone from the group was heard saying in shock. The students who were present there had looks of shock on their faces. 1 move? Is he that strong? Bobby thought to himself as his eyebrows scrunched up and his face changed color, with anger blazing in his heart. He and Tom only had 1 ring differentiating the both of them. If Tom did well, maybe he could win in 3 moves. That was true. However, just 1 move? That was a humiliation. Facing his provocative eyes, Bobby calmed down and thought, "I cannot fall into this trap. Even if I live through this 1 move, he will still humiliate me afterwards." Having been in the city for half a year, Bobby Brown had been beaten a few times and had learned to bear with it. "I'm quite tired from training today. Let me rest for a few days, and then I'll fight you," Bobby says with a blank, expressionless look on his face. "Okay, kiddo. I will let you off the hook today. But the next time we see each other, do not forget about today's 1-move battle," Tom said, as his eyes gave off a cold look. Bobby's heartbeat started rising once more, and he thought, "It looks like Tom isn't going to let me off the hook. I need to become eligible for the orange belt. Only then I'll have a chance against him." After leaving the training ground, Bobby returned home. Since he had managed to gain entry to the main training facility in the city, his parents gained a bit of his prestige and came to the city as well. This was supposed to be his parents' reward. However, Bobby felt ashamed because his performance at the training center might disappoint his parents. He might also disappoint those of the older generations who had high expectations of him back at Beaumont. "I'm back," Bobby said, with his head down. A deep, calm man walked out of one of the rooms. It was Bobby's father, Beyonce. "Bobby, come quick and have something to eat," his mother, Ashley, said, with a caring look in her eyes as she walked out of the kitchen with a plate of food in her hand. Every time Bobby came home, he was able to feel the warmth and love of his family. "Thanks, Mom. This tastes so good," he mumbled, with his mouth full of food. While they ate, Bobby realized that his mother and father did not speak much, as opposed to normal days, when they would keep asking him about his day. He felt as if there was something on their mind, something they were hiding from him. "Mom? Dad? What are you..." Bobby said, as he saw the solemn expressions on their faces, looking as if they had something to say. Deontay and Ashley looked at one another, and then they took a long sigh, together. Let me say it, Ashley says, taking a slight pause. Some people came over from the training center with a letter, she added. Letter? What letter? Bobby asked, not understanding what his mother was talking about. With a long face, Ashley continued. The martial arts training center has now made some new rules. If the recruitments from outside the city do not receive the green belt before the age of 15, they will be sent back. And not only that, they will not be able to take part in the center sparring competition. What? Bobby said, as his heart stopped for a second and his face changed dramatically. The center sparring competition was where the youth fought to show off their skills. The ones who won would get rich rewards and have a chance to become an inner core student, who would be fully trained by the higher-ranked fighters of the center free of cost. Thus, it was a chance to turn into a dragon from a fish for the poorer student like Bobby. If they lost the chance to enter, it was the same as being thrown away. And the rule that made Bobby Brown's heart cold was the last one. Before the age of 15, those who were not able to be awarded the green belt will be sent back to the towns they were selected from. No, this cannot be true, Bobby said in a soft voice, with both his hands clenched together. He and his parents wouldn't have the face to be sent back to Belmont. This rule is only applicable for the recruits from outside the city, his mother says, with a look of dissatisfaction on her face. Mother, father, it is okay. I'll train even harder and get my orange belt before the center sparring competition, Bobby said, as he clenched his fists. There are still 2 months left. To register, you need to sign up a month earlier. To break through and get your belt in such a small time is not an easy task, his father said, trying to console him. Bobby's eyes went dim, as if he had fallen into darkness. If there were 2 months left, and he doubled his efforts, there was around 20 to 30% chance of success. To break through in a month, however, he believed would take a miracle. After staying silent for a long time, Ashley wiped the corners of her eyes and spoke softly. Bobby, it doesn't matter if you fail. You still make us proud every day. The most that will happen is us returning to Belmont and living a normal life.
You see, man, that's the problem with having some like supportive parents. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, you know, like they're like, hey, it's not that big of a deal to be average, but come on, man, you made it this far. Who want to go back now? You know, that's like having it's like living in a multi-million-dollar mansion. You're like, hey, we can't pay this rent. So the worst case scenario, we just go back and live in our 2-bedroom apartment in the slums. Like, Ashley is obviously a good mom, you know, but who's trying to go back to that, you know?
Yeah, if we return, you will still be the most talented one there. I'd rather have you be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix, Deontay said, as he nodded his head in agreement. Being parents, they would rather have their children be safe, even if their lives would be normal. But return to mediocrity, that was what was bothering Billy the most.
He meant to say Bobby right there.
No, I meant to say Billy. Okay? Let me tell the story. Shut up and just let me tell the story, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Going back to Belmont to lead a normal life? Bobby said, shaking his head in determination. He once swore an oath to perform well and become a master of the martial arts. His heart yearned toward the teachings of chi control, which lay beyond the attainments of the black belt. How could he be willing to lose and return back in this manner? Bobby restrained himself from crying, screamed, and merely ran out of the house. Bobby, don't be stubborn, his parents shouted. Boom. Suddenly, thunder and lightning rumbled in the sky, and it started raining. Bobby kept the despair in his heart, howled back at the sky, and ran out into the rain. The lightning flashed everywhere, making his face light up. Not good, Bobby thought to himself, as he felt a cold wind bearing down on him. When he looked up, he was shocked by what he saw. From the time of his birth, he had never seen lightning like this, so closely packed together, like a spider's web. In that short moment, the lightning above seemed to be controlled by some power, something that made it concentrate in such a small space. A black streak came from out of the light in the sky. It passed through the lightning and caused beautiful dreamlike ripples to appear. It was impossible to imagine what the black line was, as it even engulfed the light from the lightning in the sky. Bobby Brown felt his feet go numb. His hair and clothes turned black, and thunder rang in his ears non-stop. And then suddenly, the whole world went dead silent. What? What is this? He thought to himself, as he looked around himself in confusion. His face was white, and looking down at his feet, he saw a weird black marble, like an eyeball. It looked like all the black energy was emanating through this marble itself. The eye-like marble seemed like it had life, giving off a thumping sound as it moved around and then began to stare at Bobby right in the eye. However, the eyeball seemed to thump and sync with his own heart, giving him an unusually friendly feeling. At this moment, he felt some kind of impulse, almost as if he was being summoned. Does this item have life? He thought to himself as he held his breath, ready for any signs of danger. However, before Bobby could move, in a swift motion, the marble swooshed into his left eye. Ah! He screamed, and then fainted immediately after. Before he blacked out, he had only one thought. I'm screwed. I think this is going to blind me. Episode 2. The Battle of One Move. Not knowing how much time had passed, Bobby started to regain consciousness, but he was not able to feel his body. The only thing he felt was the pain in his left eye. He turned cold, and suddenly remembered what happened before he fainted. The weird eyeball-shaped marble merging into his left eye. It felt like a minor injury, but he was as he felt like it could have been worse. Zing. Suddenly, he heard a sound, as if something was moving within him, resonating throughout his body. Bobby held his left eye, as it began to feel like it was going to pop out. In that moment, he felt as if his consciousness had been sucked into the dark marble. Boom. His brain suddenly shook, and Bobby's mind was brought into a pitch-black dimension. Slowly noticing his surroundings, Bobby thought to himself, Where am I? What is this place? Bobby had a natural fear of the unknown, and seeing such a weird place was completely different than anything he had ever experienced. But his attention was attracted by the faint green light emanating from the center of the pitch-black place. That faint green light seemed very mysterious and infinitely deep. It slowly spun, as if it had survived from the ancient times until now, giving off a feeling of life and eternity. Bobby's awareness was fully absorbed by it, so absorbed that he did not notice anything else. The ancient is broken, and the ancient gods slain will turn into endless dust. A voice spoke out, almost as if coming through the light itself. The words that were spoken by this voice seemed so ancient and sad. It reverberated within the pitch-black area, as if it had been echoing since time immemorial. Who's there? Bobby asked, as his consciousness swayed. That sound seemed to come from the space itself. Finally, a soul in the universe that is perfectly in sync with me, the mysterious voice said to itself. Who's there sneaking around? Bobby shouted, as he tried to suppress his fear. To continue my bloodline, the bloodline of the Eye, you will rule everyone, control every race. You, lucky youngster, do not disappoint me. With a boom, a flash of bright light spread across the pitch-black space, due to which Bobby had to cover his eyes. Everything became calm, and there was silence that had spread like a blanket around the entire place. Bobby took a long breath, but before he could think anymore, a painful feeling came from his left eye. Within a room, the burning sun came through the window. At this time, Bobby suddenly woke into reality. This was his room. Ah, my eyes! Bobby screamed and clutched his left eye, which was now swollen red and burning with pain. He laid back on the bed, and his body still had charred pieces from where he was struck by lightning. The pain coming from his left eye made him sweat and toss around. Fortunately, the pain faded away as time went by. My eye. Bobby had a face full of worry and slowly loosened the grip around his left eye. He was certain that his left eye could still see light, but when his left eye saw the first ray of sunlight, the strong burn made him squint and let out his breath. Slowly, his left eye eventually adapted to the sunlight and could finally make out the world. What came after made him go into shock. The whole world seemed to have become tens of thousands of different colors. The vision of his left eye made everything seem perfectly clear and beautiful. He could even see the particles in the air, which certainly wasn't what normal vision could make out. He could clearly see ants on a tree 100 meters away, and the veins on a leaf, all while sitting on his bed, looking out of the window. What is going on? My left eye, Bobby thought to himself as the shock slowly passed, gradually revealing some happiness on his face. He was certain that his left eye had undergone a series of changes and was at least 10 times stronger than his original eye. Bobby took out a mirror and looked at it closely. His left eye's size was the same as before. The only difference was that the center of the eye was darker than the original. When he fully focused on his left eye, the eyeball would give off a faint glow of green light. These changes, although not very obvious, caused his heart to race. Did that mysterious ball merge with my left eye? He thought to himself, as he felt a sudden surge of happiness, closely followed by a growing fear of uncertainty. After a while, he took a deep breath and walked out of his room. Bobby, you were asleep for almost an entire day. I was so worried, Ashley said, as she saw that her son was okay. Mother, I am all right. I might even have gotten lucky from this disaster. Bobby laughed and said. However, his face turned solemn, and he shouted with confusion. Wait, Mother, did you say that I was unconscious for one whole day? Yes, that day after you were hit by lightning, but the doctor said that you were just unconscious. Ashley wiped her eyes, relieved, but scared of what might have happened. While they talked, Bobby's stomach growled, and only then did he feel the hunger rise up inside him. Come, I will make you some food to eat, Ashley said, as she went to the kitchen and bustled around. While she did, Bobby kept using his left eye to observe everything, and felt that his body had also gone through some changes. The most obvious change was his reaction speed. While they were eating, Bobby's gaze landed upon a fly buzzing around. His left eye saw the flies flying around. He could even differentiate the gender, and he could also make out the veins upon its wings. Swoosh! He waved his chopsticks on instinct. Suddenly, the humming of the fly stopped. Seeing that he had caught the fly with his chopsticks, he chuckled softly. This felt good. This felt damn good.
Bro, this dude caught a fly with a pair of chopsticks, man. Have you ever even tried to swat at a fly? That's all I'm gonna say.
Because of his left eye, his reaction speed and sight now far surpassed those of normal people. After eating, Bobby felt full of energy, so he raced towards the martial arts ground. He had a feeling that this change in his left eye could possibly change his life. His left eye gave off sizzles of heat, and after that, also gave off a slight heartbeat sound. He didn't know, but as the mysterious eyeball merged for them, his bloodline and body were both slowly changing. The martial arts grounds. Reaching the grounds, Bobby, as usual, started to practice his fist core martial arts techniques. Bobby Brown, you're finally here. I thought you'd be a turtle hiding in your shell. Came a laugh from the other side of the field. Damn it, Bobby swore in his heart as he looked at the muscular Tom, who was striding over. He then remembered the one-move battle with Tom. With him walked a group of other students who looked eager as ever to see what was going to happen. Looks like it cannot be avoided, Bobby thought to himself as he saw Tom walk over to meet him. Little Bobby Brown, get ready. One move. I'll only need one move to make you hit the dirt, Tom shouted, getting into his battle stance. Tom's massive body seemed like a tiger as he pressed towards Bobby, moving as soon as his words finished. Using a weird stance, his two hands and body contracted like a poisonous snake, giving off a dark and creepy feeling. Bobby felt a chill, as if he was locked onto by a serpent. Whoa, is that the high-ranked martial art 13 changes of the poisonous snake? Came an excited shout from the crowd, who recognized Tom's stance. A high-ranked martial art? How is this possible? Most orange belts can only go into the martial arts library and learn middle-ranked martial arts. How could Tom know a high-ranked one? Bobby thought to himself, as he gulped down the saliva that was accumulating in his mouth. You might not know this, but Tom's grandfather is one of the center's elders. Someone shouted from the crowd. No wonder Tom has the confidence of winning with one move. It is because he's learned the 13 changes of the poisonous snake, Bobby thought, as he shuddered in fear. The students around the grounds all felt chilled. Even some of those whose training exceeded that of Tom gave him a solemn look. It is a high-ranked martial arts skill, Bobby thought, as he took a cold breath. At Belmont, students under the green belt level could only learn low or mid-tier moves. As for Bobby, since he had not even attained the orange belt yet, he could not enter the town's martial arts library. So, he could not learn even low-ranked martial arts. The 13 changes of the poisonous snake was a high-ranked martial arts skill, and the damage dealt by it was way higher than low and middle-ranked martial arts, not to mention core martial arts. No wonder he has the confidence to take me down in a single move, Bobby thought, as his heart began racing. He knew that under normal circumstances, he couldn't take even one move from a high-ranked martial arts skill. And even then, Tom's strength was higher than his own by one rank. Under pressure, Bobby felt his left eye move, and felt his sudden excitement. He put all of his power into his left eye, and targeted Tom. No one saw that, but at the moment, Bobby's left eye gave off a faint green glow. Swoosh. It felt like he had gone into supervision mode. In this sight, Tom's body was enlarged, and every change, including his breathing rate, heartbeat, his muscles, veins, everything could be seen with his left eye. And at that moment, the world seemed to slow down by almost 1,000 times. However, the speed of the world didn't slow down. The change was Bobby Brown's own reaction speed. As he saw Tom's hand fly towards him, Bobby's heart felt extremely peaceful and calm. His opponent, Tom, had an unknown shiver and a sudden feeling that all his secrets had been seen through. Tom had a glum face and used his strongest strike without hesitation. His body was like a poisonous snake and moved like lightning, having both extreme speed and power. Swoosh. In a flash, Tom's two fingers were together, like a poisonous snake's fangs, slashed through the air as they moved towards Bobby. So fast, many of the students around them thought. Not even the many greenbelts there managed to see how fast Tom moved, just as Tom's fang-like fingers were about to hit Bobby. Zoop. A strong fist punched through the air, hitting Tom's arm, making him fall to the ground. Tom felt his mind shudder as his body stiffened due to shock, with his arm turning numb. His fingers, which were only half an inch away from Bobby's chest, could not move forward at all. Whoosh. Tom's stomach suddenly erupted with pain as he was sent flying out with a scream. What happened? All of the students gathered around shouted in shock. One move, and you've lost, Bobby said, with a smirk on his face.
Bro, I know that feel good. I know that feel real good. Like, imagine someone coming all inside your face. Like, they all in your grill, threatening to do this, that, and the third. And then when it finally comes down to it, you put them on the ass like a boss, like how you supposed to. I know Bobby felt good right there because anybody else would. See, Bobby's the underdog, and this is why this is a great story. Let's get back into it.
Episode 3. Breaking Through. One move, and you've lost. Bobby had an expression of shock and excitement, which was hard to cover up. I won? And I won in one move? He thought to himself, as a smile slowly grew on his face. Before the battle, because of the changes in his left eye, Bobby was confident that by relying on his reaction speed and vision, he would be able to block one of Tom's moves, and if used well, more than 10 moves. However, the actual result was well out of his expectations. Tom's attack was very fast to some of the bystanders, but to Bobby's left eye, all of his movements were as clear as day. When his left eye was activated, he felt that the opponent's moves seemed slow and clumsy. He was stunned because he saw faults in Tom's skill. Faults in a high-ranked martial art. Bobby didn't understand it either. How could he see the opponent's faults so easily? Maybe it was because the opponent hadn't fully polished the skill. At last, he reacted on instinct, just like how he had with the fly, and gave the opponent a deadly hit, which allowed him to win in one move.
Look, real quick, I just want to say, if you guys are Bruce Lee fans, he once said that he's not afraid of someone that knows 1,000 kicks and punches, right? He's afraid of someone that knows one kick or punch, and he practiced it 1,000 times. You have to perfect whatever you're trying to do. Otherwise, there's too many flaws in there, and essentially, the God's eye, Bobby's spiritual eye, will pick that shit apart. So that's just fire. Like, basically, everything is moving in slow motion for this dude, right? Kind of like, whenever Spider-Man first got his powers and he was fighting the bully, the dude was just moving in slow motion. He was just dodging it like it wasn't nothing. Same thing with Bobby.
All the other students in the field were shocked. Did I see wrong? The one that lost was Tom. You were right. The person who lost was Tom. All the students opened their eyes wide and had weird faces on. How is this possible? How could I lose to this guy? Tom thought to himself, as an expression of disbelief emerged on his face. He lost so suddenly that he didn't understand how it had happened. At this time, the expressions on Bobby and Tom's faces were comparable. Both did not fully understand what had happened. It was by accident, someone shouted from the crowd, hearing which, everyone started nodding in agreement. You are right. This kid's luck must be too good. He won by accident, another person said, from a different side. has great luck. The crowd rapidly agreed on the reason for Bobby's victory. Luck? Maybe. Bobby smiled faintly and turned to leave. Kid, stay there. Tom clutched his stomach as he slowly stood up before he darkly said again, Bobby, you were just lucky before. That's why you won. Let's fight again. Fight again? Bobby scrunched up his eyebrows and looked at Tom. First, you're hurt. Second, I don't have time, he added as he turned around. Bastard. After I'm healed, I'll perfect my 13 changes of the poisonous snake. Then I'll fight you, Tom shouted in anger as he watched Bobby walk away. Looking back on the fight, Tom had his own reasons why he lost, and there were 3 main ones that he could think of. First, he looked down on his opponent. Second, he had only learned the first 3 moves of the 13 changes of the poisonous snake, and there were still many faults in it, as it was not yet perfected. Third, Bobby had too much luck. On the other side of the martial arts field, Bobby started to practice. The reason I was able to win the fight is mainly because Tom looked down on me, as well as the fact that he has yet to perfect the high-ranked martial arts skill, which allowed me to see the faults in it, he thought to himself. Bobby knew the answer in his heart. Tom would definitely not go easy on him in the next fight, and if he perfected the 13 changes of the poisonous snake's first 3 moves, he would not have any confidence in winning again. That was because the difference between a yellow belt and an orange belt was too big. Orange belts were trained much harder and better than yellow belts. Orange belts had strength training as their core training. So an orange belt from the main facility was trained to hit with around more than 100 kilograms more pressure than a simple yellow belt. That's why, under normal conditions, to be a yellow belt and to beat an orange belt, it was also surprising, and even more so to win in one move. The key point is still to increase my strength. Bobby took a deep breath and started to practice Flaming Metal Fist again. The first move, the second move, the third move. The Flaming Metal Fist seemed to be as smooth as water, smoother than it had ever been. Ha! As Bobby finished his routine, he had an excited look on his face. The Flaming Metal Fist had a total of 32 moves, and he could now finish them in one breath, much faster than before. The power of the moves had also increased. After finishing the routine, he felt that his blood flowed better and faster than before, as if it was burning. At the same time, the beat coming from his left eye became even more obvious. Bobby closed his eyes, and his consciousness fell into the pitch-black dimension. At the center of the dimension, there was a faint green light. At first, the green light had a radius of around 60 centimeters, and was quite faint. Now, the area and brightness of the faint green light seemed to have increased. Could it be? Is the eye abilities directly linked to my own strength? Bobby guessed happily. The changes in his left eye gave him the chance to change his destiny. First, it had let him beat Tom, and secondly, when he practiced his moves, they had become super smooth. Again, Bobby's eyes sharpened as he started to practice Flaming Metal Fists again. Bobby's movement speed became faster and faster, and the moves started to perfectly link with one another. After practicing it for the 3rd time, his speed had already become twice as fast as before, and the damage had also increased greatly. Through his breathing, he felt his blood circulate better, and the parts of his body that could not be toughened before had also started to become stronger. At this speed, I will just need a few more days to break through and receive my orange belt, he thought to himself. He practiced until night, and then wiped his sweat and headed back towards his home. After arriving home, he still was thinking about the changes in his left eye. To continue my bloodline of the eye, you will rule everyone, control every race. You lucky youngster. Do not disappoint me. He recollects the voice saying. He remembered the voice that came from the pitch-black dimension before he fainted. This eye might have come from an ancient godlike existence, and in an accident merged with my own eye, Bobby assumed. Even at night, when he opened his eye, he could still see everything outside. The darkness of the night had almost zero influence on him now. His eye could still see the birds a few kilometers away. Bobby lay on his bed that night and felt his left eye releasing sizzling pulses of heat, which merged with his blood. Under this weird feeling, Bobby fell asleep. The next morning, Bobby woke up, stretched his 4 limbs, and went to practice in a small courtyard outside his house. This yard is too old, and the environment is bad. When I'm stronger, I'm definitely going to let my parents live inside a big house, which has its own courtyard inside, Bobby thought in his heart. Quickly, he began to practice the 32 moves of the flaming metal fist. The fist carried the wind, and now contained extreme power. As soon as he threw a few punches, he felt that something was wrong. Between each breath, his blood was raging, and gave off an aura of power. Every punch now contained at least 200 to 250 kilograms of force. What? He shouted, shocked, as his 2 fists blurred into 2 patches of red light. To determine his real strength, he hit the big tree in front of him, and the branch that he hit immediately snapped into pieces. No, this definitely is not the power of a yellow belt. Could it be? Bobby's heart jumped as he tried to figure out his own strength. To understand his theory of the eye giving him power, he took a deep breath and put all of his power into one stomp. Stomp. The ground shook, and the layers of earth crumbled, leaving Bobby's footprint 2 centimeters deep into the hard-packed ground. His expression turned happy, as one of his palms hit a stone that was at least 30 kilograms and broke it into pieces. This kind of power wasn't something that a town recruit yellow belt could have. The orange belt. I've made it. This strength will get me to the orange belt, I'm sure, Bobby said, as he closed his eyes and began to feel the power coursing through his body. He had thought that breaking through to the orange belt level would take at least a few days, but he hadn't realized that he had broken through after just one night's sleep. His consciousness went inside his left eye, and there, Bobby found that the faint green light now extended from around 60 centimeters to 67 centimeters. He felt that his energy was better than before, and that it also had different changes, which could not be explained.
Hey everybody, I hope y'all enjoyed the first podcast of God's Eye. Be on the lookout for Insta Millionaire. And if you guys like what you guys seen today, feel free to leave a comment, share, follow me on social media. Go ahead and follow my Instagram page. It's __X Bruno, BRUNO. Go ahead and follow me on my social medias. I'm going to be posting a lot more content in the group. My very next post I'm going to be posting, we should be covering 4 all the way to 7. All right. I'm OT Bruno. Peace and love.